Yo, I don't know. I'm hoping to make this a quick thing. It's rattling around in my head, and it just feels like the appropriate thing to do. Kind of complete this trilogy of the epic trilogy of the shit that's been going on, right? So, I mean, the latest thing that, again, it's not necessarily even the latest thing. So first, let's talk about commenting on social media. First, let's talk about the format. Let's talk about how the conversations go. So things happen out there somewhere, wherever that happens to be. It filters through our social media. There's a conversation that happens. There's details of of a specific industry. Sorry, I'm gonna stop myself a little bit. Take a couple of breaths. There's details within specific situations or incidences that change minute by minute, hour by hour, day by day, whatever. It's going to be a varying degree. So you're locked into a conversation about something that when someone else interacts with it might be 8 hours later, might be a day later, might be an hour later, and details of it have changed. So part of the deal with communicating in any sort of format is it's really not only is the difficulty there of just the communication in general, but it's keeping up with an ever evolving conversation, right? And making sure that we're all talking about the same things, and all of these things come into play. So, I mean, the latest, as far as what I understand it, this being 5:30 p.m., July 26th, 2020. The latest nonsense that's kind of come from the Tom King thing is the Jay Lee kind of repercussions that he's experienced. It doesn't appear. Sorry, that just bothers me seeing that in the back of my head there. It doesn't appear that it's maybe had a huge effect on his career. It's had effect on him as a person. And the thing that kind of comes from all this is still the applauding to what is essentially, well, not even essentially, what in reality is a white man in a position where he's made some just random claim that's going to have some lasting effect on this individual. Whether it puts them out of work or whatever it is, that's debatable. And still people applauding him for doing the right thing. And I just, again, going back to the very first issue that I had with this, I know Damien had said something in the comment on one of the videos that he was a bit confused as to the points. And I understand that. And I didn't respond, Damien, if you are watching this, I didn't respond in writing because it's just not my preferred way to deal with this kind of stuff. So, I mean, the original point of view that I had was someone in Tom King's position being able to do more if there really was something that they were worried about, or there was an association at their company with a kind of group of people that they didn't agree with their politics, and what that puts you in, what position that puts you in as an individual, as someone who is there for work, and what can be done about it. And I still stand behind the fact that someone in Tom King's position, instead of just tweeting out something, let's look at that section first. Let's forget everything that we know since then. Let's just look at that one incident. That one incident is that instead of, what more did you do? So there was an accusation that was put out, which at the time was considered 100% infallible and absolute fact. Not enough. If there's going to be something within your belief system that causes you to act out in a certain way, how are you not going the full extent with it? And again, we can have all of those conversations about the privilege of making a living within the arts, because how he supports his family outside of that, when if he decides to take some sort of stand, again, get a real fucking job and go out there and provide for your family. It's not like he's not going to be able to provide. That's kind of nonsense thinking to some degree. Everybody is going to have their challenges. Arguably, a middle-aged white man isn't going to face the same challenges that many other people are going to face. So again, using that spot that you're in if you're really truly concerned about it, to actually make some changes, actually making some changes, instead of just doing the doing it in the way that was done. Now jumping ahead to the response that he had when he actually decided to talk to Jay Lee, and Jay Lee had said to him that he wasn't aware of any of these things, a conversation that could have been had in private, that never had to kind of make a segue through political or public opinion anyway, and then still being applauded by fans who thought that what he did originally was enough, and who now still commend him for doing things that supposedly in their eyes is, hey, good for you, I'm glad that you reached out to him. But then any sort of challenge to that is still met with, well, what the fuck do you want? What are you getting at? You know, it's still like he fucked up, and it's not about people being perfect. And I'm sick and fucking tired of hearing that argument, because it's not about people being perfect. Everybody is going to fuck up. What the conversation is about is someone in a specific position of power being more fucking careful with the shit that they're putting out there. It's exactly what that's about. Recognizing your position within your little segment of the world, which in this case is comic writing and the comic universe, and recognizing that anything that you put out there is going to have lasting repercussions, or it's going to have a varying degree of damage. And if he doesn't realize that, then that's again a separate conversation. I call bullshit on that though as well. Again, knowing that in your corner you're going to have a certain level of power when it comes to these kind of things, and being really careful. Of course, that doesn't mean that you're never going to make mistakes, of course. And when you do, owning up to those mistakes, which again, I think that he has, you can come and say hello. There's nobody here. I'm just talking to myself. I'm just doing a video. But if you can say hi to nobody that's watching right now. Hi. Okay, I'll be right up, okay? All right. Okay, how are you doing? Good. Yeah, good. Nice to see you. Did you have a fun party? Yeah. Yeah, excellent. All right, I'll be up right away. Okay. Love you, sweetie. Yeah. Completely off track now. Sorry, I legitimately don't remember where I was in midstream in that thought. I think my point of all of this is that the way that some of these things are dealt with, and again, it's not like I'm breaking new territory here and I'm the first person that's thought about this. It is just endlessly frustrating that things have gotten to this point. And again, the thing that I find really troublesome about it is that this is a white person in the position of power to some degree, but not use that in a way that could have had the potential to ruin someone's career. And the people that are fans of Tom King, or the people that are, I'm going to reverse that actually, not the people that are fans of Tom King. I apologize. A group of people decided that anything that he does is okay. And I mean, again, when I had the conversation with people about it being not enough, the pushback that I got on that, what do you expect? But then it's the same people who are still applauding, like, well, he made a mistake and he owned up to it. That's great. Is this an issue or isn't this an issue? So, and it bothers me. It doesn't concern me. It just bothers me. And I realize I am living in this world of social media, and I myself have chosen to engage in this where I normally stay the fuck away. It just really bothers me that there's no connecting of dots for people about how all of these things are problematic, and how every single incident has to be looked at as at its own incident. And when I say this, I'm talking about people that may be more Comicsgate leaning versus people that are anti-Comicsgate. I'm talking about both sides of this here. There seems to be a lack of understanding that each individual incident is its own incident, and it has to be looked at that way. It can't just be a fucking sweeping, this is wrong because this, or that reaction to this is wrong because this. there's always going to be these moments where, like what happened with Tom King, the mark was fucking missed by a long shot, and there's going to be damage, and that's going to fuel the arguments on one side of the spectrum, depending on the topic that you're thinking about or tackling. The lack of understanding about that and just these broad sweeping statements and not kind of looking at the incident, it really is just bothersome. We're not going to get anywhere if we're just worried about all of these peripheral things. Do I myself align more with one side? For sure I do. Absolutely I do. And anybody that's watched the channel for any length of time, it's no mystery which side I align myself with more so. Do I feel that there's people out there that just shouldn't be making money off of the hateful bullshit that they're putting out in the world? Absolutely, for sure. Oh, gee, I'm glad you're here. I truly am glad you're here, because we did start this conversation, and I am trying to kind of articulate it. It just felt like a shame not to kind of put a cap on it with all of the stuff that we know now. So I think all of those things have been missed, and I don't see people shitting all over him at this point. And again, if you're going to shit all over someone like Jay Lee when you didn't have all the information, how are you not equally pissed off when at Tom King for the shit that he put out there? I don't get how I just don't understand it. And I know that I'm trying to tackle an understanding of something that potentially I'll never understand. And it's just a problem, again, with the format of discussion, that kind of social media aspect of it. I just find it frustrating to get through the fact that people aren't kind of on top of him. I was just reading, and this is brought up because I was just reading the thread when he put out the Jay Lee apology. Like, you know, I talked to him and it turns out I was wrong. I was just scrolling through it. There are a number of people that are shitting on him for having the reaction without doing things at all. And again, then there's people shitting on those people for having those reactions. Why aren't you pissed off at him, though? Why aren't you pissed off? Do you really care about these kind of social justice issues, or don't you? If you don't, that is fine. I would never think of forcing anybody to care about something they truly don't. Then you need to shut the fuck up. Full on. And it's exactly what I said about Tom King. I think you're either dealing with the problem and you're leaving the fucking company who's supporting these politics that you don't agree with, or you're not. And if you're not, shut the fuck up. Be mindful of what you're doing, because what he did and how he tackled it, I call bullshit on right from the beginning. You need to deal with those things in a better way. And we all need to be thinking about how we deal those things, and also how we as individuals participate in those things. Again, I call on people like Tom King and these creators who are associated with, you know, we've never even talked about the stuff that was going on with Dark Horse. Guys like Mike Mignola, who knew of the abuse that was happening there and still working for those companies. How do we have that conversation? How do we have the conversation going forward that it's not enough to just put these fucking ideas out there and not do anything, but continue working with the company? Because the thing that I see with Tom King is, listen, don't buy that issue. Don't buy that cover. Still buy the comic. Still buy my comic. Still support DC. Just don't buy this one over here. Buy this one. So the idea of still buy into it, just filter it in a way that I want you to. And again, I know that I'm not saying anything that people don't agree with. And I know it's all of these things that get really difficult to have conversations about. But motherfucker, shit is complex. Shit is fucking nuanced. And again, every single situation, there's going to be nuanced things. So, I mean, I know that that didn't really answer Damien's question, but I do feel that my thoughts about it haven't changed throughout this. I never said at the beginning that Jay Lee should be canceled. My opinion was, why are you only doing this? What else are you doing? Why aren't you doing anything else? If you think that this is really truly an issue and you don't want people to support it, how are you justifying to yourself working for that company that is doing those things? And again, anytime you're working with a corporation, there's shit that comes with that, whether you like it or not. Whatever bullshit fairy tales you decide to tell yourself, You're signing on with what their politics are and what they're going to do within that corporation. And I guarantee you, if you dig into any corporation, there's going to be some sordid shit that they're a part of. So you have to make that stand, and it's not enough just to say, don't do this, do that. Don't, hey, I tweeted it out. What else do you want me to do? I want you to fucking really take a stand on shit if you really believe it. That's what I want you to do. For me, it's never been about the specific Tom King versus Jay Lee. That was just a launching off point for a bunch of other stuff. And again, it's played out in the worst possible way. Well, maybe not the worst possible way. The worst possible way could be Jay never works again. Nobody ever hires him, which I guarantee you, there's some people out there who don't know the full story, who are going to just remember that initial tweet, again, put out by a fucking white guy in a position of power who's now put out some absolute bullshit about someone, that it's going to affect them in some way. And again, I hate words like cancel culture. I hate words like SJW. I hate that shit. I think it minimizes the important issues way too much into a catchphrase. We need to have bigger conversations about this. We have to stay away from just using trigger words and kind of titles for things. This is very serious conversations that we need to be having. And again, this is by no means just isolated to the comics industry. This is on a grand fucking scale. This is across boundaries. This is politics. This is COVID. This is entertainment. This is how we interact with each other. This is all of these things combined into one. We have to have a bigger, better conversation. We've had too long of fucking retards like that orange prick dumbing down the fucking world. And for some reason, we've decided to putting these ignorant fucks on a pedestal as something to look up to. And I'm tired of it. I'm just fucking tired of it. So that said, I'm going to be staying away from some of that stuff on Twitter for a while, because I just can't anymore, because it's frustrating. And again, I realize that I chose to inject myself into the conversation. I'm fully aware of that. I decided to tweet out what I did. I decided to engage in those conversations. I put this solely on myself. It just really felt like I needed to do a final video about these thoughts because I had started down this path. Honestly, there was a big part of me that was just going to stay away from it, because I don't want my channel to become this. I really don't. I enjoy talking about the books that I do. All of these things are really, really important to me. They really are, but I don't want my channel to become this kind of thing. I just felt it was a cop-out not to address things with the new information that we had. In just a few years, Trump's election managed to bring everyone down to his level on every aspect of U.S. society. Yeah, 100% G. And again, it sounds like such an old man thing to say, but I don't know when we turn that channel to decide to elevate people with little or no education and are just completely bringing us to the lowest common denominator. I would love to just be the old guy and blame it on reality TV. I think there's a lot of stuff that happens in that mainstream entertainment world that has led us to somewhere, but I think it's not necessarily led us to somewhere. It's stuff that has just emphasized the way we are as animals to begin with, and just brought out the worst parts of things into the public eye. I've worked for Zappos, owned by Amazon, that has real issues with labor and is beholden to many companies with questionable practices like Nike. So yeah, you are right about being nuanced. I appreciate it, Chris. Thank you for that. And again, I realize it's also, again, why I don't inject myself into these kind of conversations on social media, because I know that you just can't have. It's a near impossibility, I think, to have any sort of real discussion on stuff. It's just there for the sound bites. I think that in order to kind of have some more nuanced conversation, you have to have an account that's just dedicated to one topic and really explore it. And everything that you retweet is something. And that's also where it comes back to the conversation that we had earlier, potentially here. I don't know if it was with Adam. I don't know. I don't remember exactly where it was, but the idea when kind of the protests had really started in full swing, it just didn't seem like any time to be talking about, for me, myself personally, didn't feel like any time to talk about anything comic related or anything like that. It just seemed all sorts of like, my mind wasn't there, first of all, but it also just seemed like, again, it's this recognizing, just recognizing what the fuck is going on in the real world and having some having some fucking decency to know when just to shut the fuck up, you know what I mean, is more what that was about for sure. So yeah, that's it. I could go on and on, but I'm not going to. 20 minutes is great. I really appreciate that you guys hung in there. G, just to say it out loud, like, I really do appreciate the messages that we do have on Twitter back and forth. It's really important to me. That stuff is really important. And again, like I said to you, I'm always down for, when I said face-to-face, I meant like this through the video. I'm always down for those kind of conversations. It would have to be something separated. I'm all for it. And I think all of us need to have more of these conversations. But I do recognize that with the kind of imperfect social media that we do have, I do enjoy our interactions back and forth on there. So thank you very much. Chris, thank you very much for tuning in and hanging out. And whoever the mysterious third person is, that's it. Have a good Sunday, everybody.